Hello, welcome to this video, welcome to my channel. My name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing the Choose Your Fellowship book tag. This book tag is part of the Tolkien Along that Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction is hosting, and I will not be necessarily participating in the read-along, but I think I'm going to tune into all of the live shows because earlier this year I read the Lord of the Rings series for the first time and it shot up to the top of my list, like I think it does with everyone who reads it for the first time. Everybody loves Lord of the Rings, especially at my college. It's a very popular book series to have read and to love, and so I wanted to be a part of the club, and now I am, and I'm very excited about it. So each of the prompts for this book tag are centered on a character from the Lord of the Rings, and then a quote of theirs, and then a prompt that informs which book you choose for said character. It's getting a little colder lately where I am. Today the high is actually 61, which is amazing. And so I had fall on my mind while I was formulating my choices for this book tag, and so you may see that come up a little bit. The first prompt is Frodo, I will take the ring to Mordor, which is a book you're not quite sure if you like or not, which is hilarious for Frodo because I am not quite sure if I like Frodo or not. The book I chose for this prompt was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I read this earlier this year when I was participating in Book Roast's Owls Readathon, and I was sort of perplexed by my feelings on it. I ended up rating it 3 stars. I enjoyed the process of reading it, but zombies are never my favorite thing. I saw the movie when it came out in theaters, actually. I loved all of the actors in it, and I thought the movie was a fun time. And reading the book, I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but since then I've wondered why I liked it and why it exists. The next prompt is my favorite character in Lord of the Rings, Sam. I can't carry it, but I can carry you. A book you will always be loyal to. Needing to be loyal to a book insinuates in my mind that there are people who are firmly against this book. So I was thinking, what do I like that a lot of people don't like? Oh yes, the Shadowhunter books. I read every single Shadowhunter book the month it comes out. I pre-order every new release. I love them. I would call it a guilty pleasure, except that I am not necessarily someone who feels guilty about the things that I do like. That's just a personality trait of mine. I don't feel guilty, so I don't have guilty pleasures. I love the Shadowhunter books. I know they can be incredibly problematic, especially in the early days, but they keep getting better. And I think Cassandra Clare is a brilliant writer, and I support her, capitalizing on this awesome idea that she's had. I know that the Shadowhunter books never end, and they probably will never end, and I will probably be, 50 years old pre-ordering the next Cassandra Clare book when she's like 90. I don't know how old she is. When she's an old lady, I will still be pre-ordering her books. Next is Pippin, What About Second Breakfast, a book that you would like to reread. This time last year, I read one of my favorite books for the first time, and it was Little Women. I read it during the month of October. I have the most beautiful copy of Little Women that exists in the world, and it just became so quickly a story that is very dear to my heart. The new movie is now my favorite movie of all time as well, and so I would love to reread this at some point. I have a very long winter break from college due to Corona, and so I think I will reread this, A Tale of Two Cities, and try to tackle some of the bigger books on my TBR. Next up is Mary, We're Going With You, Frodo, a book about friendship. Now, with fall coming, I could choose a book about positive, healthy friendships that help you become a better person, or I could choose a book about friendships that corrupt you and turn you into a monster, or turn you to murdering someone else. And so turning this prompt on its head, and also choosing 2 books, it really wouldn't be a Rosemary and Ink book tag if I didn't cheat a little bit. So for this prompt, I'm choosing The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde and If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. These are 2 books that involve very intense, toxic, unhealthy friendships that turn some of the main characters into the worst versions of themselves. This is a classic and end of the Victorian era gothic sort of creepy novel about a man who is corrupted by someone he very deeply admires and eventually becomes the worst possible version of himself. And then this book is about a theater troupe who only performs Shakespeare, whose intense, deep relationships with each other eventually start mirroring themselves on stage, and what happens in Shakespeare's plays eventually starts mirroring themselves in the lives of the characters. People die, and it's dark academia. The next prompt is Aragorn. The next prompt is Aragon for Frodo, a book with a hero or a heroine to swoon over. I am not generally given to choosing books with heroes or heroines to swoon over, and I am generally not given to swooning over book characters, but I recently read a series that had a character who warmed my heart so much when they received a happy ending. I sobbed so hard. I have cried about him in my videos before. It is Sam Gamgee. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about Sam. So I am sad now that I don't have my Lord of the Rings books with me, but Sam Gamgee is the answer to this. He is loyal, he is kind, he's generous with all of his internal and external resources towards Frodo. I believe that he is the true hero of the Lord of the Rings story. Next up is Legolas, a book that still only counts as one, the biggest book on your TBR. I have two really big books on my TBR, but there's one that I'm going to pick over the other one for this prompt, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I have not yet purchased this book, yet I very much plan to read it, maybe over that winter break I was mentioning earlier. The other huge book on my TBR is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I love Charles Dickens, and I really want to watch the new David Copperfield movie when it comes out, and so I also plan to try to tackle that David Copperfield book over said winter break. My winter break is going to be like 7 weeks long, so I really am hoping that I can just like make videos for 7 weeks and read big books and just have a grand old time. Next is Gimli, Shall I Get You a Box? A short but fun read, because Gimli is both short and fun. I don't have very many short reads at my mental disposal. I can't really remember anything super short that I read that I haven't really mentioned on the channel before, so I thought I would go with my favorite play, which is both short and fun. I am a Shakespeare fan, and so Hamlet and Much Ado About Nothing are competing often for my favorite play title. However, Hamlet is not very fun in the least. And Much Ado About Nothing is very, very fun. My favorite adaptation is the Kenneth Branagh version starring Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. It's just incredible. It's available on Amazon Prime. If you have it, you should watch it. It's totally awesome. Much Ado About Nothing is about Beatrice and Benedict, who have grown up together. They know each other very well, and they are constantly verbally sparring. Benedict and his men have come home from war. Hero, Beatrice's cousin, falls madly in love with Claudius, who is one of Benedict's men, and then some chaos ensues when people decide to sabotage their love and their marriage. Beatrice is by far the best Shakespeare heroine that I have ever read. When Hero's happiness is threatened, her love for Hero comes out in mama bear form, and she does everything she possibly can to preserve Hero's happiness and get her the man that she wants. And Benedict, because he loves Beatrice, also goes to great lengths to protect Hero as well, and everything ends up amazing at the end. Next is Boromir, They've Taken the Little Ones, a book series where you never made it past the first book. It took me a minute to figure this one out, but actually a book series where I never made it past the first book is Divergent. I was trying to be trendy and hip and read all the things my friends were reading when I was in middle school, and that led me to reading a series of dystopian YA series, and I learned that I do not like dystopian novels unless they're sort of like adult modern classic speculative fiction. Like I love 1984, I love Handmaid's Tale. Dystopian YA not my thing, don't like it very much at all. And so I read Divergent, I thought it was fine, and I tried to read Insurgent, and I couldn't do it. And finally, Gandalf. Ugh, I love Gandalf. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us, a book that made you think about life, the universe, and everything once you finished it. I tried to think of a book that I hadn't spoken about on my channel, but honestly, if it's something that makes me think about my life, everything, and the universe after reading it, I have spoken about it because I'm very excited about it. So I have two things for this. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, which I've talked about extensively. It's great poetry, it's really interesting philosophy, and a really interesting outlook on the universe and on other people and on oneself. Walt Whitman specifically really challenged me to see myself in a new light and to really engage in some radical self-love that I really haven't experienced, and I really benefited from this reading experience. I've got Walt Whitman on my wall, and oh, my friend Danny recently brought me this from one of her thrifting adventures, which is an illustrated Leaves of Grass, and it has the poetry in it, and then it has like beautiful photographs. Like, wow, look at that. They remind me a lot of Great Depression era photography, and it's beautiful. So Leaves of Grass. I love Leaves of Grass, and I love Walt Whitman. And the other book that I recently read that made me think about my life and the universe and everything is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I know that I can't shut up about this book, but honestly, I don't feel bad about it. I think everyone needs to read this book. It's about what happens to a study machine kind of teenager who discovers her passion, and about whether this life that we have built of academic achievement and climbing up the ladder of capitalism, whether or not it's really that important. And this really just made me reevaluate the way that I am approaching life as a 20-year-old person when I read this summer, and I cannot recommend it enough, especially to people my age and people who are going into college, people who are about to graduate college, people who are in the middle of college. I don't care if you are in this age group, please read this book. That is all for the Choose Your Fellowship book tag. I am very excited. Generally, now that I finished this video, I'm just feeling generally excited about life. Having recently read The Lord of the Rings, I'm really excited to watch the Tolkien Along live shows and see what people have to say about the books. But anyway, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you are doing well. If you're not, I hope it gets better soon, and I hope that you love what you're reading. I'll see you soon. Bye.